Today, inshallah, we're going to discuss the Gothic literature, and we're gonna have a sample of the Gothic literature, which is the for the House of Asher excerpted. So, guys, first of all, we want to know what's the Gothic literature. First of all, the meaning of the word Gothic. Actually, if you're going to check your etymology dictionary, which tells you the background or where did we got the word Gothic exactly? Well, we got the word Gothic from the Dutch language. It's a Dutch language. It's a Germanic word. Actually, it refers to ethnic groups, which is the Dutch ethnic groups. During the Middle Ages, what happened is these Gothic tribes invaded most of Europe and controlled most of Europe. And here we started the Gothic literature. It comes from the Middle Ages when the Gothic tribes invaded most of Europe. So they prevailed England. That's why England became part of Germany. So what happened is the Gothic literature starts at this point. It has actually a unique style because it characterized by elements of fear, horror, death, and gloom, as well as romantic elements like love, for example, or nature, individuality, and high emotion. I hope now the term Gothic is clear. Where did we get this word? When did it start? The characteristics of the Gothic literature. We have some Gothic elements. We're going to go through them. Number one, most of the novels or the stories that resembles the Gothic literature has a setting in a castle or a mansion. It happens in a castle or a luxurious house. Okay, you're following me, guys?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
good. So
yes,
once
yes.
again, who can tell me? Yes, good. Who can tell me what is Gothic fiction or Gothic literature?
It's like about like dark and gloomy,
Yes,
sad
yes,
themes.
yes. Good. All of these genres actually are obvious in the Gothic literature. And I'm telling you that the setting refers to a place like castle or old mansion.
Or an
Actually,
abandoned house.
that's right. Okay. The action takes place in and around an old castle or old mansion. All the ruins of an old castle or mansion, sometimes abandoned, sometimes occupied, and sometimes it's not clear whether the building has occupants or no. The castle often contains secret passages, okay, holes, secret holes. It's unknown places inside the castle or the mansion. It may has trapdoors, secret rooms. This is what creates what? Fear, horror, panic, dread. Okay?
It makes
The castle may
like a
uh
terrifying atmosphere.
Yes, that's right. Number two of the elements of Gothic literature, an atmosphere of mystery and suspense. You wanna know what's gonna happen, so you've got suspense, and sometimes mysterious actions happens. The work is pervaded by a threatening feeling, fear enhanced by the unknown. This atmosphere actually is sometimes advanced. And characters see only a glimpse of something. Was that a person rushing out the window, or only the wind blowing a curtain? So you've got suspense. Is it this or that? I don't know. Something mysterious happens. Okay. In modern novels, actually, the inexplicable events are often murders. It's in unexpected events, like a murder, for example. The bodies are sometimes muti- sorry, mutilated in ways that defy explanation. What kind of monster could do that? Okay, you don't know. When you don't know, you're suspect. You wanna know if your suggestion is right or wrong. So this is what creates suspense. Number three, an ancient prophecy. In the past, somebody says that in the future something is gonna happen. This is a prophecy, and it's connected with the castle or its inhabitants. The prophecy is usually obscure, partial, or confusing. What could it mean? Omens, someone who is pessimistic, has omen,
I
miracles,
think also
vision.
Omen means like when you know something bad is about to happen, like
Yes,
bad luck.
yeah. A character may have a disturbing dream, vision, or some phenomenon may be seen as a portent of coming events in supernatural or otherwise in explicable events. Something has supernatural powers like a ghost, like Jinny, high, even overwrought emotion. It's exaggerated emotion. The narration may be highly sentimental, and the characters are often overcome by anger, sorrow, surprise, fear, and especially terror. Women in distress, women in bad situations. It's an appeal of sympathy of the reader. Female characters often face events that leave them fainting, terrified, screaming, and or sobbing, which means women got into a situation that could be described as horrible situation. And women threatened by a powerful, impulsive, tyrannical male. And the last thing is the metonymy of gloom and horror. And metonymy actually meant a metaphor. When I'm saying something and I mean something else, this is metonymy. Have you got this?
Yes, yes.
Yes. In your book, check page number 6, please. Page number 6.
Yes.
Right. Who can read on page number 6, please? But in a hurry.
Me.
Go ahead. Kazem, is it you?
Yes.
Good.
Okay. My introduction to Gothic literature. How does someone fall in love with a particular kind of writing or an author who has long departed this life? What draws us to find in words the echoes of our own fears and longings? For most of us lucky enough to have a literary passion, the story of how we met our first love is probably just like tales of our first meetings, funny or quirky, full of accident and coincidence. My literary passion is Edgar Allan Poe, and I met him in print when I was 14 years old. It was just after a
Wait,
huge
wait a
storm
minute,
that
wait a
had.
minute. Hey. Kazem, it's just I heard the name Edgar Allan Poe. You know who is Edgar Allan Poe?
Yes, a poet.
He's not just a poet. He's the Prince Laureate, Amir al-Shu'ara, Prince Laureate in the United States of America. Okay, so
I
this
heard about
name,
him a lot.
yeah, never forget this name. It's a magnificent author. Um, you gotta learn a lot of his literary works. And actually, to give you a hint about Edgar Allan Poe, he was born in 1809 and he died in 1849. He's regarded as the first American literary critic and the inventor of the detective story in the United States of America. And despite his literary success, his life actually was not that, that successful life. It was almost as dark as the fiction he wrote. Shortly after his death, his father, after his birth, not death, after his birth, his father deserted his family. So he lived a gloomy life. That's why he's one of the writers or the authors of the Gothic literature, because his life actually was gloomy. It was so sad. He was raised by a wealthy yet miserly merchant, stepfather, or guardian. And actually, Edgar Allan Poe lived most of his adult life in extremely poverty. This is another reason why he was so gloomy. When we get this background about Edgar Allan Poe, and when we read his excerpts, I mean his literary works, we understand the mood of the literary work. And by the way, Edgar Allan Poe died at the age of 40, and the circumstances of his death actually remain up till now a mystery. Nobody knows how did this happen. He dies of a young age, the age of 40. Okay, Kazim, will you go
Yes.
ahead? Yes. Keep going.
It was just after a huge storm that had featured an alarmingly beautiful
Yeah.
display of lightning and wind. The power had been knocked out, and I was sitting at a window, watching the wet night grow darker. I had been living with my grandmother for a few weeks, while my parents figured things out. I loved my grandmother, but I couldn't shake the sadness and anxiety I was feeling. The storm had been a welcome diversion. As the clouds
Yep.
cleared, a fog rose and filtered the moonlight, casting a bluish blue hue over the yard. The scene was moody and solemn, but beautiful. My grandmother broke my reverie by bustling into the room carrying two lit candles and a book. It'll take hours for the electric company to get all the way out here to fix the power, she said. Why don't you read? I'll go find some batteries for a flashlight.
Yep. Keep
She
going.
set she set the book and the candle on the floor. and rushed out as though she had to catch the batteries before they fled. I picked up the book she had left on the floor. It was a collection of old stories, just a paperback and not much to look at. I turned to one by Poe, The Cask of Amontillado, set during the carnival season in an unnamed European city. The story features an unhinged narrator named Montresor, who plots revenge on an acquaintance. I liked the gruesome setting of a mysterious burial vault. In post descriptions, I could practically smell the dust and mold, and I was stunned by the horrible ending. But what struck me most was how Montresor spoke directly to the reader, to me. He expected my sympathy as he brought his terrible revenge. Up to that point, all the stories I had ever read had set the criminal or lunatic at a distance. They didn't
Yeah.
draw me into a mind. That was a truly scary place to be. This one did.
Okay. Who else can read, guys? I'm gonna comment by the end of the text. So I want somebody to read paragraph number four.
Mr. I can read.
Go ahead.
I finished Paul's story and turned to another. My grandmother came back with a flashlight, and I kept reading. There were more stories by Poe and other by authors whom I had never heard of but who came to feel like friends. Amelia B. Edwards, uh, Hor-
Horace.
Hor- Horace Walpole, and Radcliffe. I later learned that these stories were part of the Gothic tradition, but I didn't care about that. I fell into them and was carried away, like someone swimming in a river. In all of them, characters were driven by intense emotions of love or hate or jealousy. Some featured ghosts or monsters, but others featured regular people whose sorrow made them ghostly or monstrous. They were tales full of darkness and light, just like the storm I had enjoyed with its hundreds and with its thunders and lightning. There were stories that made all I felt and fe- feared seemed less of a burden. That
Yes.
even
Thank
spent
you.
dark.
Thank you. That's all. So, guys, in here we are discussing everything about Gothic literature. For example, you said the setting happens in a castle or an old mansion. So, the characters are blue, and the atmosphere is full of darkness, and so here we are describing each point about the Gothic literature. The characters who could be ghosts or monsters, ordinary people. Um, um, it could be some kind of tales or legends, and this is the genre of this type of Gothic literature. And actually, as well, the author in here gives us examples of the Gothic literature, like for example, the Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe as well. Um, Okay, we're going to follow reading paragraph number five. Who can read it? Paragraph number five.
Me, mister, I want to read.
Abdullah. Okay, Abdullah, go ahead.
That evening spent in darkness, both real and imaginary, never left me. The stories helped me understand that life is not easy and people are complex,
Yes.
simultaneously strong and weak, wonderful
Simultaneously,
and
something
terrible.
happens at the same time. It's simultaneous. Something happen at the same time. Okay,
Though,
two actions happening at the same time. This is simultaneous.
though I could not articulate it in then, I can now. The stories help me see that life can be a mansion full of secrets and dark passages, but also of beauty and light. They help me choose to embrace it all. After another week at my grandmother's, I went home armed with stories to see me through whatever might come.
Okay, Abdullah. It's just the word choose. The ch is pronounced cha 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 not cha. Not so it's choose. Okay.
Okay.
Well. We've got a word network in here. Our keyword is fear. So in here, I want a lot of vocabulary that expresses fear or holds the same meaning, like for example, revenge, bold, unhinged, and I prefer if you can get words from the text to be read. What do you think?
Hmm.
You may find a word, for example, like horror. Horror relates to fear. So what
Mr.
else? Yeah.
Longings. Third line.
The third line.
On
And
fears
there is
or
gruesome.
longing.
Uh-huh.
There is gruesome in the in paragraph number
Good.
3.
Yes.
Gruesome setting of a mysterious burial vault.
Yeah. Good. What else?
Lunatic.
Okay.
Mm, Gothic is also a word.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Monstrous.
Monasteries. Yes.
Um,
Thunder. What do you think of the thunder?
yeah,
It makes.
it relates to fear.
Yes.
It's terrible.
Okay.
Darkness.
Darkness. Yeah, that's right.
Ghostly.
That's right. It makes fear. Ghosts and
Yeah.
genies.
Um, we said there is
How many
also
words?
anxiety, I think.
Yes, and anxiety. Yes. Distress.
Mm, and
I guess right now we filled all the gaps.
yes,
So that's all.
yeah, I think.
Great. So now we know the elements of Gothic literature. We know how to go through Gothic
We write
literature.
it. We write it or not it.
Now we're going to read.
Okay.
This is yes, this is literature, not writing. I'm not gonna ask you, by the way, to write down any Gothic writings. I'm just we are just applying this through reading some excerpts of the Gothic literature. As you can see here in my presentation, The Fall of the House of Ashur by Edgar Allan Poe. I'm gonna give you an example of what's gone ahead, not to muddle up, not to miss the point. So keep in mind the summary, please. Keep it in your minds. Actually, at the beginning of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Ashur, the narrator responds to a mysterious summons and travels to the ancestral home of Roderick Asher. He's an old friend to the writer. And by the way, he is sick. He has a disorder mentality. He's insane. So again, Roderick Asher is a sick friend. He's hardly seen since childhood. They often see him since they were kids. Known as the House of the Asher, the vast ancient structure overlooks a dark lake that intensifies its gloom. House of Asher also refers to the old and distinguished family that will no longer exist if Roderick dies. His twin sister Madeline is close to death, and he is the end of the line. He's the last one of his ancestors. So the narrator establishes a routine of reading and music to distract Roderick from mortal dread. The author is trying to help his friend by getting him out of his illness. When Madeline dies, they deposit her body in a secure vault under the house. But when the narrator tries to resume the routine, he inadvertently unlocks from deep with the House of Usher a force of evil that transcends our understanding of life and death. Something horrible happens because Madeline come back to life again with a strong force, and she's trying to ruin the house, the castle. Fine. Well, everyone, follow me, please. This picture is a picture of Edgar Allan Poe. You see that he died in 1849. 1849. There were old photographies at this time, so that's why we have a picture of him. Okay, as you can see, he is dressed in coat. He's dressed well because he became one of the most famous people in the United States at this era because he was a successful author, successful poet and writer, novel writer. He started his life actually in poverty, but after this he got he went will actually he became a famous writer, a famous poet. In the Fall of the House of Usher, the most famous short story by Edgar Allan Poe. It's the best of the literary works done by Edgar Allan Poe. It's a masterpiece of American Gothic fiction. Well, actually, Gothic fiction discusses the points of darkness, strangeness, and uh, horror stories, which led to something evil. Gothic fiction features horror. Can you imagine this? Fiction, Gothic fiction features horror, the supernatural, death, madness, hereditary curses, and medieval like settings. As you can see the pictures. See this guy?
What's a vampire?
Vampire, like Dracula. The
Yes.
people who suck the blood of other people to live. Okay. Well, this part actually. Yes. Here are some examples of Gothic literature: Burton's Gentleman's Magazine, Tales of the Grotesque and Arabesque, period of American Romanticism, Dark Romanticism. These are examples. Gothic writing.
Mister, he make the most dangerous game, right?
Yes, that's right.
I remember last year من اللي قبله.
Good. Well, the point of view of the story we are going to read, the For the House of Asher, actually, its point of view is first person. The writer is using a lot the pronouns I, we, my, mine, our, ours. Um, and we don't know the name of the narrator. The main character, actually, but we don't know what's his name. The author didn't tell us. And the writer describes the events as he saw them. The main characters we've got, as I told you, the narrator.
Hmm.
Well, the narrator is a friend of the master of the house of Asher. He witnesses terrifying events. Roderick Asher, the master of the house, a man who's suffering from a depressing malice. The twin sister of Roderick, her name is Madeline Asher. She also suffers from a strange illness. Well, inside the story, the narrator arrives to the Asher's house, an old mansion encircled by a small town, small lake. A bridge across the town provides access to the house. Frederick Asher receives the visitor, boyhood friend. Frederick, who is suffering from a strange mental illness, lives there with his twin sister Madeline, who is near death due to a mysterious disease. The narrator stays with them. He provides company to Roderick while he paints and plays guitar. He spends all his days inside, avoiding the sunlight. By the way, guys, well, you're gonna find the this story acted as a movie on the YouTube. Do you want me to search for the link for you? And do it right now and give you the link. When you watch the movie, you're gonna to understand well. Are you there, guys?
Yes, yes,
Y-
Yes,
yes.
yes,
Yes.
we are.
You know
Yes, yes,
how
we got
where
it.
yes, you know where to put my link. I wanna send you the link of this story. So where can I add it?
Mister, in the chat. Enter the chat and copy the link.
Yeah, in the chat. That's right. That's it. Sent you the link. When you watch the movie, actually, you're going to understand well. You're going to get the meaning in the elements of Gothic literature. Actually, the narrator stays with the ushers. He provides company to Roderick while he paints and plays guitar. He spends all his days inside, avoiding the sunlight. And here's the problem actually. Maybe this is the core of the problem that, the ushers now live alone. They cannot see anybody, they cannot chat with anyone, they cannot have a company with the others. Uh, Actually, for a long time, this may cause a person uh, be mad. They can drive people be insane. So maybe this is the problem, guys. To be isolated from the society, this may cause the people to be insane. You got this?
Yes.
Good. When Madeline dies, Roderick decides to bury her temporarily in one of his house's large vaults. But actually, you feel that she's not completely dead. Maybe they buried her alive. They suspect this, but they are not sure. A few days later, during a storm night, the narrators could not sleep. He was terrified. Roderick comes to the narrator's bedroom. The narrator attempts to calm Roderick by reading The Majesty, a story about a knight, either Ethelred, who slays a dragon and wins a shield of shining brass. As the narrator reads the book, they can listen to the same sounds related in the story. Roderick declares Madeline was alive, they buried her. Here is another problem actually. Maybe his sister is going to come back to life to revenge. Then Madeline emerges from her provisional tomb. She confronts Roderick and begins throttling him to death. We began to be scared, right? Somebody dies, he came back from his death, and a thunderstorm. During the thunderstorm, someone who was dead came to life again. The house begins to collapse. In the narrator feels for his life. The narrator flees for his life. He escapes. Frederick is dead. He and Madeline are consumed by the falling house. What about the narrator? He flees, he escapes. Focus, terminal illness, madness, incest, and we've got one of the style of the Gothic literature, which is symbolism. When you symbolize, for example, we may say that um, dove. When you mention the word dove, you don't mean that bird, that white bird that has two wings and um, the domestic bird. I don't mean this. When I'm saying dove, for example, I may mean peace. So dove is a symbol for peace. I'm saying something and I mean something else. This is what's called symbolism. A tarn, which is a lake, encircling the mansion and reflecting its image. Madeline as the twin of Roderick, reflecting his image and personality. The desire of the usher to isolate themselves from the outside world. As I told you before, maybe the core problem in here is the ushers isolated themselves out of the society. This is what caused them the mental illness. The bridge over the turn of the lake. Narrator as Roderick Asher's only link to the outside world. And see this only something so small, something maybe tribal, who connects the ushers to the outside world, which is which is what the bridge. It's a small link. The name Asher. Actually, the Asher is a doorkeeper. In this scene, Roderick Asher opens the door to a fighting world of the narrator. That's why the writer he used the word Asher or the name Asher. So in here, Asher is a simple for what it's an Asher. Yeah, it opens the door to the frightening world of the narrator. The storm. Well, actually, the storm is the turbulent emotions experienced by the characters inside excuse me, the emotions inside these characters are agitated. They are um, inside them like a storm. They are struggling with their emotions. The collapsing mansion is another symbol. When the house collapses, you can understand that the Asher family are collapsing. So the collapse of the mansion is a symbol for the fall of the house of Asher. It's a symbol for the fall of the family itself. Well, I've got some question for you guys, and after this, we're going to follow in our PowerPoint presentation. So, my question number one for you is: mention some characteristics of Gothic fiction. Who can tell me? Who can answer me?
Mr. I can answer.
Good, go ahead.
Horror,
Yes,
depression, darkness,
great.
gloominess, like
Yes,
something that's scary,
madness.
as if you're watching a
Yes,
horror,
madness. Great. Super natural characters.
like monsters and ghosts and
Yes,
stuff.
that's right. Okay. Well, actually, question number two needs some kind of surfing the internet or the Wikipedia.
1840.
Yes, that's right. Before I asked the question, he answered me. Fine. Here I'm asking about when was the House of Asher was published. It's in 1840. That's right. And question number three: how do Asher and the narrator know one another?
Me, Mustafa.
Go ahead.
They were friends
Friends.
and
Yes.
before when they were young.
Yeah, that's right. They were childhood friends. Describe Madeline's mysterious disease. Madeline Asher, she had a disease. What was it?
In her head, maybe. In her head, the disease.
Yes, mental disorder. Or you
Yes.
can say simply she's mad. She's suffering madness or mental disorder. Okay. Well, to tell you the truth, you may not understand the literary work well because actually you have to know the style of this writing, the style of the writer himself. Because you may read something you don't understand what's this or what is the relation between this and the theme or the central idea. But when you when it gets to your mind that we've got symbolism in here, so you begin to understand. So that's why I started with an excerpt or a background about Edgar Allan Poe. We know Poe is continually addressing Gothic and romantic tendencies. It's unworded or probably not going to reference rainbows and ponies. Fine. Well, the setting actually of this. literary work. The story begins at dusk, and dusk is the time between day and night when the sun begins to set. We have dusk. Actually, this was in autumn, so the place is an old mansion or a castle, old castle, and the time is at dusk in an autumn day. In an earlier time, probably the 19th century, because you can see these castles always in the 19th century. Well, the place is a forbidding mansion in a forlorn countryside. The mansion covered by fungus and is enriched and it's encircled by a small lake called a tarn that resembles a moat. A bridge across the tarn provides access to the mansion. Can you see the picture beside the bird sitting? Can you?
Mm-hmm.
Good. In the fall of the House of Asher, how do atmosphere and environment influence the narrator's behavior? Think and tell me.
He's overwhelmed by fear.
That's right. It
Yes, and
caused
because
horror and fear.
Castle and the gloomy mood, he is scared.
That's right. So the link in here between the place or the setting and the feelings of the narrator, it's a close relationship because the place drives the narrator to be scared or distressed. In the fall, the House of Asher, how do atmosphere and environment influence Roderick Asher's behavior? Well, it's the same question again. Yes. How would you behave? Yes. It's the no question. How would you behave in the House of Asher? Imagine yourself in this place. So, how would you behave? What are you going to do? For
I
me, I'm
will
gonna
feel
escape, of
sad
course.
for the owners of the house.
You gonna what?
I will feel sad.
In yeah, this is your
One,
feelings.
one,
And what about yes, your behavior? Yeah, you will run. You'll escape.
run. والله معك.
Yes, you'll flee. Would you react similarly to either the narrator or Asher?
No.
They ran, as you said. Are you going to do the same?
Maybe, but no.
Yes. Mm. There's an Arabic proverb says, "Ingo Saad فقد هلك سعيد." It is flee before the house collapses on your heads. Okay. The main characters in here, we've got the narrator and Roderick Asher, Madeline Asher, and I don't think there were anybody else. The narrator in here is a friend of the master of the House of Asher. When he visits his friend, he witnesses terrifying events. In Roderick Asher, the master of the house, he suffers from a depressing condition characterized by strange behavior. The last one, Madeline Asher, twin sister of Roderick. She also suffers from a strange illness. After apparently dying, she rises from her coffin, and the coffin is the cloth of the dead body. Kafan. It's an English coffin. Let's make sure we understand what is going on. Understand what? Understand the plot. Think about why the boyhood friend is the narrator. Why, especially, Roderick Asher asks his boyhood friend to come to his house. Think of this. You may give me suggestions for answer to this question.
Like the
Maybe he
narrator
just mm,
is not from the
yes.
family, so the author uses
Yeah.
it to describe another, like, not an
Uh-huh.
outsider, a stranger's point of view about the family of Usher. Like,
Hmm.
how would other people look at the family rather than how the family will look at itself?
That's right. Yes, maybe he
And
wants somebody outside his family to give maybe a new description
Mister, he was
to say this.
tired and sick,
Yes,
so I didn't.
and maybe something else, which is maybe the ushers, Roderick Usher trusts his boyhood friend. He may not find somebody else because he is trapped from the boyhood of his life. He is trapped at this house. He was never tried to get out this house, so he knows nobody else except for his boyhood friends. He's isolated. Okay, analyze the information given about Roderick and Madeline Asher's illness. Pay close attention to how these diseases affect them mentally and emotionally, as well as physically. So, the isolation feeling, guys, which can drive you to madness. This is the central idea. When Madeline and her brother isolate themselves, they suffer from mental illness. It's not just mental, and these actually mental case could affect the physical health. They affect also the emotion, their emotion.
Okay.
Decide whether Roderick intentionally buries Madeline alive or not, and why he would do so. Well, actually, we have to get through the text in order to answer this question because up till now, I myself, I'm not sure up till now, was Madeline buried alive or she was dead? Up till now, I'm not sure. So we have to read next period. Inshallah, we have to read the story in order to get the clues for this. Maybe it's not mentioned clearly, or you have to just read the lines to get the answer.
Mm,
So you just have some clues, and based on these clues, you're going to answer this question: was she buried alive, or she was really dead?
I think like, because he, after they buried her, like
Yeah.
Roderick said that she was buried alive, like he wanted to,
Hmm.
and for
Well,
more
actually,
evidence,
yeah,
he has a mental illness. So
we're not sure up till now. As I told you, we have to read. But to tell you the truth, you know what? The Western societies actually are fond of this type of actions. Somebody dies and came came to life again after his death. They assume that Al-Masih, Isa ibn Maryam, He's the same. He died and he came back from
Yes.
his death with strong power. So it's the same in here. Madeline uh, died and she came to life again with strong
Oh,
powers. So she destroyed all the mansion on the head of her brother Roderick Asher. If we feel that she is revenging, so revenging of what? Someone may do something good when he buries an old man, but when we bury a live person, he may think of taking the revenge. That's why we are suspecting that she was still alive. Got it?
mm, yes.
This is my clues up till now. So when we read, we're going to check this.
When we read
Just a
next,
minute. Yeah, one here. Okay.
I think the period has finished.
Yes, you're right. So, guys,
Oh,
see you next period, inshallah. We're going to read the Fall the House of Asher from the book, page number 13. So,
okay.
don't forget to, yes, to answer your home assignments today on Classera. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم
Uh,
السلام.
yeah, if you got any question, guys, please send it on Classera. Any question, send it on Classera. That's everything for today. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.